I'll introduce myself. I'm Sam Bogosh, CEO and co-founder of Axle AI, and I'm joined by Patrice Gutebel, who's our other co-founder. Wanted to set up the conversation here by saying that we're very excited about the new release of the software. It does represent quite a bit of work we've been doing over the last year to come out with this major release for both Mac and Linux. There are some real high points and then some detailed stuff that will be of interest to specific people. But at a high level, what we're talking about is a big upgrade across the stack that we use, and also some major upgrades to our code that go with it to add things like a thoroughly modernized admin interface, which was always graphical, but looked like it was from about 10 years ago, which it was. So I think with all that said, the other big benefits are things like scalability and better performance and throughput. So I think with that, let's go to the next slide, and talk about the platform itself. Each of the components that are core to our system are now very current versions of those respective modules. Obviously, this isn't something you can't demo this very easily. There may be some things Patrice may want to show relative to this slide, but this is also very important to IT departments because there are security concerns over using less than recent versions of different elements. We had a big shift where CentOS basically went out of support, and we had been using that as our Linux default installer. It was very reliable over the years, but due to some kind of Linux politics, CentOS is no more. And as part of transitioning off of that, we thought it would be a good idea to switch to Ubuntu, which is a little more widely distributed and user friendlier, in addition to the other components of the stack upgrade. So, this slide, as I say, is mostly about the behind the scenes stuff, but it is really an enabler for a lot of the other things we'll be talking about. Patrice, I don't know, any comments on this or, the performance or the scalability
Yeah.
aspects?
In terms of security, we have upgraded to the latest version of PHP and we made the platform more modular so that if we need to upgrade to even newer version of PHP in the future, it will be an easier process. So we will be able to keep up with the security requirements that a lot of IT departments will want to see. And with the newer version of PostgreSQL and Elasticsearch, which have also focused on performance, we've seen an increase where roughly our previous version was had a soft limit of 2 million assets, and now we have deployed on some sites with 4 to 5 million assets, and we did not see a huge drop in performance in these cases when you query for a search. Now it was doubly important. So not only did we want to improve the speed, but also the scale of data that is being ingested has quadrupled, and that is due to the AI components. Because when you have a couple keywords entered by the user, that that can be searched very quickly. But when you have a machine learning tool that is going to automatically tag and report everything it sees, suddenly the amount of data balloons. And so it was very important for us to keep up with all of that. And Elasticsearch and PostgreSQL are also configured now for this type of large queries that will be demanded by having so much metadata. So these have been the real focus. So in addition to the security and speed, we really improve the scalability of the search that you can do with the metadata.
All right, let's go on to the next slide. So one of the big features that we're touting this new version is a broader use of semantic search. We're calling it complete semantic search, but in a sense, semantic search used to only apply to the scene understanding and the description of what was happening in that scene. Now it's extending out to speech to text, face recognition, and other modules like optical character recognition. In other words, if there's text in the lower third or in a clapboard, you'll see the text coming up in searches when you make a semantic search. Um, this has to do with how we do the vector embeddings and also essentially giving the semantic search the ability to go out and find further metadata to inform it as it goes about getting you the best possible results. There are some other key enhancements like making it multilingual. So in the original version of our semantic search, it was really just about English, but we now have a multilingual model, so you can do searches in French, Spanish, German, etc. Um, and in addition to the fact that the face recognition and OCR kind of plug into the semantic search now, they are also much more accurate, and the user interface for training the faces in particular is dramatically improved. So these aren't just engines that, go off and do whatever they do. In fact, for most MAMs, they use cloud engines for that. These are running on premise on a GPU in your network. And you're able to train them yourself, right? So if you have a particular cast, we just started doing a bunch of reality shows and they want to train it on the cast of their show. They don't care about all the celebrities in the world. They just care about the 15 people in the show. So you can train it with your faces. It takes, a modest number of faces to train for each person. And then the accuracy is quite a bit higher than in previous. This is already the fourth major generation of our face recognition software, and we're getting great results with it. Same goes for OCR. We've really improved it quite a bit, and we just did an instance at an off-road race where they had a lot of mud and dirt on the number plates of the cars, and it was still able to recognize a pretty good portion of those numbers, even when it was a little bit messy. So, Patrice, do you want to show any of this?
Absolutely. We have revamped the whole interface, as I mentioned, and the key has been to add a couple elements to it, and more importantly, for the contextual search. So in order, when we introduce a contextual search, we also integrated with vector databases, which means that a user, when they perform a search, the search result will be a bunch of coordinates and not keywords. If you can think of a room where you will have in a corner the type of vehicle, in another corner a type of weather, and another corner, type of road, etc., the dirt, asphalt. Basically, when you perform a search, think of it as Star Trek. You're beamed directly in a specific location that is relatively close to the spatial dimension search that you're making. And that will provide you accurate results for understanding what is happening and a broader result for based on the context. And what we have done in this brand new interface is made the full search. So this full search is searching across everything. I can search, for example, for Bill Gates as an example here, and you will see that it actually tells me that he found it in a scene as a face in a file name. So it reports different things based on what we do. That is the full search. You can break it up, and that will go to the other element of the search we are doing, whether it is only the scene understanding, whether I do an image search, you can upload an image. We are going to vectorize it and look for similar frames or images, everything else. And we also introduced the speech to text search, so that we bring the context into the speech as well. So nobody knows exactly what will be the exact sentence, right? I mean, unless it is a very famous speech like a Martin Luther King that says, I have a dream, nobody will know exactly what is said. And what basically we do is by bringing that into the vector search, you can search on topics for the search, for the speech. Um, this is what we have done. Going back to the face training, what we have done now is when you train a face, so if I were to take, for example, Adam Scott here, and you will see the face we have used to train, we are going to store the features into a vector database as well. So the coordinates, which increase the accuracy based on different factors that sometimes you will not always get by just having just a face recognition. So having more of a beard, having makeup, and all of the other things. Now it's more accurate to find the face. And for the OCR, we have also re-released a new version of the OCR, as Sam mentioned. And this revamped interface, what we have is also a new status panel that will tell you what is happening. We can run everything within 8 gig of VRAM, although it's pushing it, but we can run everything on premise here. Um, and if I were to, for example, look at the faces that I found here, you will see that I have an unknown face. The different logos, I have the Lexus that you can see here, or the IBM logo that appears on this tape library. If you look at all the objects, you know, the watch that you will be able to see on the wrist of a person here. So you will have different elements shown that you can also retrieve in the details here. So going to the logos, you will see the IBM logo or the Lexus logo. And talking about the OCR again, even on screenshots with small details, with small font, we were able to pick up the font here, the text, and you will see uh, all the text coming up and being searchable. So that the OCR, the contextual search, and what it means is in your Axle system, you can perform the same search here. So now I'm going to the MAM interface, our Axle 2026 MAM, where I can perform the search. And what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to search for a man with the camera, but what I'm going to do is type it in French to show you the multilingual search. So un homme avec une caméra. That I could pick any other languages, but French is a little bit better for me. And if I perform this search, you will see now the grid view with a semantic search, and you will see that I have the description. There is a man standing in a studio with a camera, so it was able to translate my search in French, create the embeddings and coordinates, and still land, even though the description is in English. And you can do this type of search. Uh, you can do this type of search in multiple languages now. So that's the contextual search that we have. And with that, I will touch more on the new features of Axle tags in Axle 2026 as we move along. I think, Sam, it's back over to you.
Super. Thanks. Um, yeah, so the next big thing we want to talk about, and we already have a couple of sites that are using this, is a hybrid cloud approach that we can do now, where our on-premise MAM is synchronized with our cloud software. And importantly, the cloud software can be public cloud, private cloud, or even just cloud software running in your local network if you're in a highly secure environment. So in other words, when we say the front end is cloud, it is as public as you want it to be or as private as you need it to be. And then the synchronization between the two is done largely with our connector workflow tools, but essentially any combination of metadata, proxy media, and high-res media can be pushed or pulled between the two instances. We are still at an early stage of this, so each deployment is kind of unique because of priorities and preferences of the customer. But suffice to say that the options are there, and that when you compare it to public hybrid clouds where you've got an on-premise server, but it's communicating to a public cloud, and you don't really have a lot of control over that public cloud instance and what its features or privacy settings are. Here, it is completely up to you. And in fact, one of the likely instances of this going forward is going to be essentially private, where the on-prem MAM talks to a private instance of Axle AI Cloud. And we have figured out how to fit all the capabilities of Axle AI Cloud on a single server. So, if you have an on-prem instance of Axle AI, you just add a server to that, and then you get all these cloud-style workflows, including the potential for our Axle Edit, browser-based editing solution. You get all of that in your browser. Um, there are also situations where the production team may really want to work on the local storage and be focused on Premiere and Resolve, whereas social media users, marketing users, occasional users would be better served by the lighter weight cloud interface. Patrice, maybe just take a minute or two and show
Yes.
some of the features there.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Sam. So, as you can see on the slide here, we can do the media ingest and the AI tagging all on premise. So, none of the media that you own is being analyzed in a cloud, and they remain all on your server. But then, when you decide to push the information over, here, this is what the interface will look like. So this is really cloud-based. So I will be able to preview the media just like you would in an on-prem solution. It is. When we say in the cloud, like Sam said, it's a private cloud, so it does not have to be a public cloud. And if you have your own set of private servers, we can definitely also deploy there if you prefer to work with Azure versus EC2 from Amazon, whichever you prefer, easy deployment. And once you decide to push the media or to the cloud, they will land on a specific either buckets or collections and projects. And you can preview the media. And the key here is the review and approval workflow and the collaboration. So from there, I have the possibility to download the file. It can be the original or the proxy. I will be able to have a threaded comments. So I can say, for example, hello there, and somebody can come and reply to these comments. So you have already the collaboration aspect. You can also have multiple level of approval. You will see that I have approved the clip, but somebody else can come and reject it, and you will see the different names. Very important for people who need to when you need multiple level of approval. Uh, and of course, you can have some AI bits associated to it where you will see, for example, the beanie for the hat or the cup. So you have the different thing, including transcription. They are not really speaking, they are just cheering here, but you can have also the transcription, which all becomes, again, searchable in the cloud. What our customers will use that though for is mainly selecting one or multiple clips or even folder and decide to create a share link, and you have a huge possibility set of options here. Can be direct access without login. It can be password protected. It can be with expiration dates. And from there, the people will have the preview, the possibility to download the clips. So great for file sharing as well. And of course, review and approve. This is the cloud. What is neat is the metadata that is set within your Axle on-premise server can then be pushed, and you can recreate a group of data here and push the metadata to make it even more searchable, or if you have relevant data. And this information can also come back. A user can decide to, hey, you know what, let me go back to here. And what I want to do is upload a file. Going to upload this file here. The upload is started, and we can have a pull to the server option. So we have cases where users are traveling, they are on shoot, and they need to send information. Not only do they have it in a cloud platform available, ready to collaborate, download, share, comment, but it will also then send the information back on the on-premise version of the Axle MAM. So that's the hybrid cloud approach.
Great. Thanks, Patrice. All right, on to our next slide here. This one is a little more subtle, but is super important in a production environment. And that is some of these improvements for multi-track audio, smoother transcript editing because AI is not perfect, playback speeds, both forward and reverse, and better support for closed captioning, which arose out of a pretty major deal we did with a broadcaster in Asia over the last 6 months. So out of that have come a lot of kind of good knowledge and improvements in our handling of closed captions. This is all kind of behind the scenes stuff that you know uh, has real world benefits if especially if you're doing multi-channel audio. I don't know, Patrice, do you want to show a little of this? I'm sure you could. But Patrice has
Yes,
become like
absolutely.
our new guru of closed captioning and
Oh
multi-track
my God.
audio.
Yeah.
But yeah, but maybe
Yeah.
just show a little bit and maybe I don't know a connector
Yeah.
workflow or
Yeah.
something. Yeah,
Basically, when I go back to my Axle system, so basically, when you look at Axel, what we have introduced a while back was, of course, the possibility to have the speech to text, right? But it has its limits. It was very hard to go text to text to edit, play, pause, play, pause. It was not really ideal. So what we have done now is the possibility to change the playback speed. If you have seen YouTube, I'm sure you're aware of all of that, where you can slow down the speed to or speed up the speed to actually work on it. And the other feature that we have introduced was the possibility to hit tab in order to jump from text to text to edit. So as you play the video, you can quickly update. And last but not least, a huge workflow enhancement was to update the time code here. Sometimes people needed to actually add maybe one or two words and shift for the time code just because they want to display it better in a transcription here in the closed captioning, and therefore you can now go ahead and as you edit a transcript, you can go ahead and save the new time component of your transcripts. And the type of work we have done for the broadcaster, they had very specific broadcast closed captioning. Going deep into the details, it will be the type of captions that will be embedded inside the frame. So gathering this information or pushing this information into a file uh, has proven to be tricky. And using CC extractor and connector, we were able to not only extract but also edit and push back the caption for broadcasting. So that's the enhancement that we have made in that. And of course, you still have the possibility to have the different audio tracks here. Here there is only one stereo track on this video, but when we introduced the different playback speed, we realized that the syncing of the different audio track was not always adequate. And therefore, in this new release of Axle 2026, we have revamped the whole multi-track aspect that can pretty much follow very well based on the playback speed. I can play at 1.x5 the speed and start to scrub, and I will have the right audio track and the right position as well. That was very key to some of our customers, specifically TV reality shows where they have a lot of cameras going around, multiple contestants with different microphones. So it was very critical for them to be able to track each microphone appropriately depending on what they were on the clip they were viewing.
Let's see, on to the next one. And we just keep popping back and forth to the demos, but I think that works here. Um, So the admin section is completely new. It was the oldest part of our code, and it kind of looked it. The menus and things looked a little dated. And we figured, hey, it's admin. Most users won't see it, but even the admin users were saying, hey, this is getting a little pokey here. So we've overhauled that. The look and feel is now consistent with the rest of our modernized UI. It's dark themed. Everything's bigger and cleaner. And I don't know, Patrice, do you want to show a little bit of
Yeah,
that or?
absolutely. Let's get right back in. If I were to go to the administrator pages right here, one big feature that was already introduced late of our previous stack, but the biggest thing was really the status, what is happening, where the system is currently working. You know, I have 5 different catalogs. Which catalog is being processed? How many files do I have left to be added? So all of this information is now added here and updated automatically in addition to seeing also the proxies being processed. And you will see the new dark theme, of course. We have revamped the admin pages, the user admin pages, where it's a lot cleaner to basically get the information about. So I can go to the different folders and add the permission, change the permission easily. So we have all of that is still available, but in a cleaner interface that will allow you to see it better. Um, Metadata, appearance, advanced, all look a lot cleaner. We are bringing a lot of features that used to be done in the background, and we now we are bringing them slowly to the admin pages to give the user more control. So yeah, so that's really the new admin pages. You will see just a cleaner look.
Great. Back to the slides. Um, this one is fairly technical, but is super important, which is the combination of improved developer docs. We're now using the Swagger standard for those. And then some real world features, in particular, support for Onyx, which is an NVIDIA standard for adding completely custom models. So we've always had it that you could customize the faces or that you could tweak things in the models we provide. But it's a huge world out there, and of course, the AI part of it is exploding, which means that you have entirely new models coming up all the time. In particular, we've even had like undersea exploration companies that use Axle and want it to recognize different kinds of coral or fish. There are models for that. And so Onyx is a standard for exporting and importing these models. And it just means that Axle can now, in principle, recognize anything. But you need to upload an Onyx model, and we have a simple user interface for doing that. And then once it's in, it just takes its place among the AI tabs below the player, and you'll be able to see the timeline results for that model and so forth. And the final thing on the technical side is we have some significantly upgraded connector workflows, including some of the ones that Patrice touched on in the last slide. But things like closed captioning, for instance, that have really only been developed in the last year, and that weren't even we weren't even really trying to do them prior to that. So connector is kind of expanding its scope, and of course it runs on Mac, Linux, and Windows, the latest versions of each OS. So any comment you would add, or
Yeah, absolutely. Let me actually just show a little bit
sure,
the
go for it.
model and everything,
Yeah.
um, because that's really key. So if I go back to the Axle tags interface here, so we have seen what is really key here for users is I may not necessarily want to see the logos that you're showing me because I am doing a festival and only local businesses are advertising, or like for example, college football where they have other logos and the uniforms, etc. So it's important to give the user the flexibility. So what we are really aiming for with Axle tags is really, I go and we give you the platform and the tools to get the information and to really empower the user with the AI bits. So if I go to the models here, you will see that I have a plain model already loaded. How did I add this model? Well, it's very easy. It is inactive because you will need a little bit more RAM. As I touched earlier, the 8 gig is being pushed here. But you can turn on and off models as needed. So all I will do is basically create a model. What type of do I have? Object detection, which is really going to report multiple objects on the scene, or classification, right? You will see a frame, it will classify it as something specific. And when that is done, I will be able to import the ONNX file. This is as simple. You make it active, and you're ready to rock and roll. What is Axle Tags going to do? Suddenly, when I look at this media here, I will have an additional tab that is shown here. So in addition to the logos, to the object, to the OCR, what I will see is the new tab with information. Same interface, same in and out points. We have had customers with, like I mentioned, college football in the US for specific tournaments. We have done also deep sea, deep sea detection. So what type of fish, what type of jellyfish? Obviously, our default object model will not pick up that. And what they were able to do is get the type of fish or reef or coral reef with in and out points. And the way you will get there, and you can even expand, and let me just touch the Swagger API, because when you have such a powerful platform, an AI platform, you want to be able to tap on it as much as possible. And so you have now the possibility to test whatever you're doing with the Swagger. So I'm just going to log in and just show you here. I can just quickly test my own system. And you will see that I have the response here. So that's really key. So again, the flexibility to import models, the flexibility to import the models is really something that is important when you do AI, because not everybody will want to have the type of objects that we see here or the logos that we see here. Training faces is one thing, because the model is the model for the face. A face is a face. So you will always pick up the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. But what we do is process of giving names to similar faces. And that's why you don't need to retrain the whole model. Where here you will need, if you make changes, you will need to run training again, etc. And we are going to walk you through all of that. We can definitely help you, provide some guidelines. We have done some race car liveries, like I said, deep sea life, etc.
Yeah, yeah, great. Yeah, and other things like, different airline logos and stuff like that. So just generally a good mix of trainable subject matter. Um, and the best part is we don't have to train them for you. This is an open standard, and therefore you can use Onyx models from almost any source and upload them. Um, so let's see, our last slide, I mean, we're quite a bit ahead of schedule actually, which is great. But our last slide is just to point out where we are at NAB in a couple of months. Um, they've moved around the halls again. So what was the South Hall is now the North Hall. And we have a cool little spot. We are surrounded by storage companies, like absolutely surrounded. I'm just to name a few, and it's funny, a bunch of them start with Q. So we have Cumulo, Qualstar, QNAP, and Quantum, like all right around us. And then we also have people like Yoyada and Archiware who do archiving software, also, right, and Simply, who does archiving hardware. It's just if you're interested in Addo, who does the fiber channel connectors and 10 gig and 25 gig Ethernet cards, Cloudian, who does object storage. It's a great neighborhood that we're in. So if you're interested in media storage and archiving and search, you've come to the right place. And it's basically in the lower center of the North Hall, so pretty easy to get to. Um, so let's see. With that being said, just want to further open things up for questions because I saw a couple come across. But our real intent here is to just get the word out about all the new features and make sure that we're available. I mean, the other thing I should mention is if you think of something after this webinar, best thing to do is just to email me or Patrice. It's just first name at axle.ai. Um, so we are, pretty continuously available for questions, and we have seen a significant uptick in the last couple of months. January and February are usually really quiet months at Axle, and this year it's just a continuation of December, which is to say, very, very busy. So it has us wondering what to expect for NAB because that'll probably be even busier still. But I think, that the core topics that we have always focused on, which is on-prem, MAM with AI, and then the fact that, it's under the control of each site. Those things are getting more and more important as people see all the compromises that come with public cloud deployments, both in terms of privacy and especially cost. Um, there are sensible uses for the cloud, and we have very good cloud partnerships with people like Storage, for instance, for object storage, Wasabi and Backblaze also, and then OVH for cloud compute. But it turns out if you're careful about it, and you use it selectively, you can save a huge amount of money compared to just dumping stuff on AWS, for instance. Um, and if you use something like our architecture to keep the high res on-prem, where all you need is electricity to keep it going, uh, and then push the proxies and the metadata into the cloud, where you can have collaborative workflows, that turns out to be a pretty good hybrid approach. And we've definitely seen a boost in the interest in that in the last few months as well. But I think our core value is about like keeping control of your stuff and having your main metadata engine on premise and kind of under your control. I think those are resonating very well, both here in the US and especially overseas. Uh, there's all kinds of crazy geopolitics going on. And I think we heard it loud and clear at IBC the last 2 years that the European customers are very leery, for instance, of working with US hyperscalers. And what they want is stuff closer to home in configurations that they manage. And Axle gives them that. So, okay, any last minute questions?
Yes, there are actually quite a few that popped up
Oh,
that
okay,
I'm
great.
looking. Uh, there, will the system catalog and read documents like Word and PDFs? Yes, Daniel, that's a very good question. Did not cover that, but we do have also a OCR module for PDF, and for Word docs, we have workflows that will convert this PDF, these words into PDF, so Axel can process it as a PDF, and that will provide you the searchability for the different words. One obvious next step will be to also include all of that into a contextual search so you can actually search on documents based on context and not exact sentences. Um, Currently, it's we use an engine that is very familiar with the English grammar, so it can easily, for example, if you have a PDF page with two column text, it will actually give you the paragraphs split by the columns instead of going line by line. So that's the one thing. But this model can be updated to different languages as well, including languages going from scripture going from right to left, for example. So that's for that. We have also Michael asking if we do need the Axle AI Cloud for the advanced upload, the advanced sharing capabilities. Technically, no. Technically, no. What I showed you, yes, but technically we can make workflows, and I have done one with Frame, for example, for somebody. So you could use other platforms with Connector. So Connector is our workflow automation tool that will allow you to perform tasks on collection of assets or specific assets, including with the in and out points. So our default is, of course, the Axle AI Cloud, but you can push somewhere else. In terms of the upload, because the Axle is really monitoring your folder structure on your storage, any kind of uploader, it can be a FTP, it can be Aspera or Signet, any kind of uploader that will land on the storage will automatically be picked up by Axle MAM and start to index it, create a proxy, and run it through AI if you have the AI automation going. But very good, very good question indeed. How is with
Super.
the okay? So we have also a question about the speed. So now it depends on a lot of different factors. If you talk about just the Axle AI MAM, the speed is limited to yours because if you run with either VPN or reverse proxy to access the on-prem solution, then it will be limited to your bandwidth. Then the cloud structure is the same response. If it is a private cloud in your server room, then the bandwidth is yours. If you go to platforms that have online, like Sam mentioned, OVH, or you have AWS, uh, all of that will depend on where you park the servers because all the data centers are globally. So if you tend to do a lot of sharing in Asia, I would strongly suggest Singapore, for example, or other data centers over there. And the same will be true for the buckets, where you basically, if I'm uploading from Singapore back to Virginia, you have to consider all the hops going through going all the way through there. So that's where the upload and download will be limited. Plus, in addition, of course, your local bandwidth. If you have a internet connection that gives you only 20 meg up for upload, you will only have the 20 meg up for upload, no matter where the bucket or center is located. I hope I answered your question, Thomas.
Well, actually, just to add to that, Patrice, because I
Yeah.
answered it a little differently,
Oh, okay.
with our cloud instance, it really the performance can be very high for both uploads and downloads. It depends which storage provider you use,
Yeah.
because if you use just like Backblaze or Wasabi or something, you are hosted in a specific location, and therefore any uploads or downloads have to go through the same hops that Patrice was describing for the on-premise Axle. However, there are two providers, AWS and Storj, that have kind of edge acceleration architectures. For lack of a better, if you're familiar with CDNs and what they do for broadcasters, it's like that, but it goes two ways. So Storj, for instance, has 85 nodes worldwide. So wherever you are, there's something near you, and therefore there are no hops in most cases. You upload through that edge node, it accelerates the transfer to the back end, and we found that to be a very, very powerful approach. We have a large OEM licensee that does a white label of our cloud software, and they cared a lot and still care a lot about global upload speeds. So by partnering with Storj, we were able to provide that very fast upload speed from anywhere. And that's, you can do the same thing with AWS, but it kind of costs an arm and a leg. And with Storj, we're able to package it in very affordably.